So, what are you going to do to ensure that you revise like a pro? So let's have a look at the concept of the brain. Around about 1 billion neurons inside it, which is enough for about 300 years of television programs. And I think one of the most important things to remember is that memory with meaning is better remembered. So how are you going to create meaningful moments that are going to help you with your short-term and long-term memory and help you effectively retrieve content? So before we think about revising, I think it's really important we understand how we learn. We learn through doing, seeing and saying. So if we learn well that way, it actually makes sense that we try and revise that way as well. So thinking about different strategies that Miss is going to talk through and how these can be beneficial to you and helping you with exams. And here I think it's quite an interesting infogram that basically follows the pattern of participation in the activity and simulating activity, teaching it and watching demonstrations are actually really important to support with your revision and retaining and remembering information.
Following on from what Mr. Moore said about the way that your brain works, if we understand how we forget things, it can actually help us learn things effectively. This graph shows how our retention of information declines over time. So if we want to learn something thoroughly, it's crucial that we return to the information and get our brains to engage actively with it again. The first of the strategies that we're going to look at is blank page retrieval. As the name suggests, you pick a topic and you start with a blank page. You write down everything that you can remember about it. Once you've done that, you can go back to your notes or your textbook and you can add in anything that you've missed. You can make connections between things, you can organise it better on the page and correct what you've done. Once you've done this, and this is the important thing, you now need to know where you focus your learning. And you can work on what you don't know. There is no point in going back over the things that you do know again and again. You really need to focus on what you don't know. And this is a great strategy for identifying that. Once you've done some work on the things that you don't know, then you can repeat the process and see the progress that you're making. The second strategy that we're going to think about today is chunking, which is a really good way for actively engaging with the material that you're trying to learn. So you use your book or a revision guide as your starting point. You pick your topic and you work through it and find the things that you need to remember. You summarise these in very short sentences of 7 words maximum. Then you read through 3 sentences at a time and you write out these 3 sentences without looking on a second page. You go on to the next 3 sentences and do the same. And then you can check them and give yourself a tick for every sentence that you've got right. Then, on a 3rd page, you write out a paragraph summarising the topic that you've been working on. You use your sentences from before, then you can check that your sentences are correct, and again, give yourself a tick for every sentence that you've got right. This is a brilliant way of really actively engaging with the material that you're trying to learn.